There you go.
How's that?
That's way better. Wow, Will.
Can you see my pores? It's high definition.
Yes, I can.
I'm going to do mine like this.
Okay.
You should.
All right, I'm going to go sideways then. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Out of the box, off the bat.
Out of the box. Will, how are you, brother? Welcome to an all-new episode of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. This podcast explores leadership traits under stress with a special guest each week. We use a simple and accurate OAD assessment to identify key personality traits or superpowers, as well as the shadow side, kryptonite traits that appear when we're under stress. As always, we'll have some pod banter, shameless plugging, and we'll even let our guests talk for a bit. Of course, no humble brags. Welcome to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of A Work in Progress. How are you, Will?
I am well, sir. I hope you are.
That's right. And it's with John Lane and Will Barfield. That's the lawyers make us say the full name, so we should do that. Hey,
we don't want a lawsuit.
Don't know that we've ever had another local podcast host as a guest on our show. Have we?
I think Larry would qualify. He has hosted podcasts. I think he still does his cold calling podcast.
Okay. And I guess Sarah Globa is on every podcast in town, but she's not a host.
Right. So if it's not our first, it's our second, but we have not had many.
Yeah. Just like banter to banter here, I would have just gone with it.
Oh, so I should not have criticized or potentially pointed out inaccuracy.
Well, we should make Will feel comfortable and special.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
Will. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Average.
Thing than a accuracy thing, right? Right. So just
Sorry, Melissa.
You're being truthful, yes.
That's the technical side of my OAD there.
let's just say apology accepted and we move on.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Apology accepted.
All right. Well, I was impromptu banter, and I didn't think I had any, but now we do. So a couple of milestones. Episode 70. That's I don't know what it is, but it's something. And then coming off a Grep-a-palooza conference, that was super fun. Melissa, tell the truth. I think it's fair to say that my birds of a feather table was absolutely the highlight of the whole day. Is that close to fair?
Yes, 100% agree. I mean, all the tables were packed. I didn't get to sit at anything fun because they were all packed.
Yeah, exactly.
But your table was packed. Yes, yeah. Quickly too.
Quickly and the best.
Yes, it was the best. 100%.
I'm pleading for positive feedback. Thank you.
And then for our listeners and watchers and whipsters, right, John? This is the first week of June, and we're talking about the Grep-a-palooza event that just went down this week. How many of those have there been, Melissa?
That was the third one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had a little break in between, with COVID, but yep. So now pretty much annually now.
Yeah, John went and networked like mad and hosted tables and just basically, made his way up, man about Durham.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's next year on the stage. We've all heard Jesse and others too many times. Let's get some new voices in.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. I'll throw your name in the hat next year.
Thank you so very much. I'm John Lane.
I am Will Barfield.
And we are clearly a work in progress. Some of us are a little more broken and desperate than others. How you doing? Desperate for attention and validation. Let's get going, Will. What do you say?
I'm with you. I'm ready.
We have a special guest, as always. Melissa, how are you? Say hello.
Hello.
Oh, boy. Is that how you answer questions on the podcast? One-word responses?
You said say hello. I said hello. That was it.
I also told you in the green room, this is where you introduce yourself.
Okay, well, it was kind of an awkward.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hello, John and Will. I'm happy to be here.
Hello, Melissa.
Thanks so much for having me. So, a little bit about myself. I am currently working at Colopy Ventures with Joe Colopy, who was the CEO and co-founder of Bronto. And he, since selling Bronto to NetSuite for $200 million, he then has since started Colopy Ventures, which has Jurassic Capital, Primordial Ventures, and the beloved Grep-a-palooza as well. So I support the hiring for our portfolio companies if they need any help.
How is that going these days? Are people hiring, or are people sitting on their powder, or what's happening?
Well, when I first started back in August of last year, I was kind of a little bit gangbusters busy, and then everything just kind of went on hold, and we stayed on hold. So I jumped into In the Soup and, doing a lot of other things just to kind of be busy. We've hired in Grep-a-palooza and internally, so that kind of kept me busy during that time. But our portfolio companies were not. But now things are kind of starting to dribble in a little bit. So
good. Well,
picking up.
Probably going to pick up. Go ahead, Will. You know about this world.
Yeah, that begs a question for me, Melissa. Do you think that's an indication that some of the money that's been sitting on the sidelines is beginning to get deployed? I mean, a lot of these companies, they need the funding in order to be able to bring in the headcount. So is that happening?
Yes. I mean, here we're consistently, doing that, investing and everything. Jen Sumi of Primordial, she's investing every month. So they're smaller checks. And then Jurassic just brought on a company called Chalk Talk. So
we saw that,
but we still have a little bit more.
Wouldn't that
so they still. Yes. So, and they still have a little bit more in their fund that they raised last year. So they still got a little bit more to go. So probably another company this year. And the other thing too, the companies they're all doing really great. I think they're just kind of, just being a little conservative and just kind of want to make sure they really have some good sales, some good quarters before they jump into hiring again. But they're starting that as well. So.
Awesome. I have to ask a question for Will, because it wouldn't be cool if he asked it. But you said one of the funds has some money left over. Annabelle is selling Girl Scout cookies. Do you think you could close out that order for her?
Well, it's not left over. They just still have some to put in to invest. So, but I'll buy some Girl Scout cookies from you.
Enough with this silliness. Let's get on to new silliness. Okay. So as everyone knows, this is where we start the podcast. It's awesome that Melissa has actually watched a couple. Will, what am I going to say next?
That I haven't.
Thank you. It's better when it comes from you.
Yeah.
But as you know, we always talk about leadership traits under stress, and we get all that good information from where?
The OAD assessment.
Yes.
And it is the way that we unlock and define unique superpowers when we're analyzing leadership traits under stress. John, highly accurate, extremely easy to administer. I'm sure Melissa experienced the ease of taking it.
Yes.
Eliminate social desirability distortions because there isn't greater than, less than, or multiple choice answers.
Correct.
And it's built to the standards of leading international psychological institutions and rating agencies, all of which are across the bottom there. And what we're trying to show you is that this is scientifically validated. You can trust the data. Just wasn't John in the garage making it up.
Well, that's true. I'm just going to agree with that. Okay. So then where we come next is we talk about the leadership style matrix, and this allows us just to give a little bit of insight into how OAD works. We break folks up between generalists and specialists. Then we do them between socially oriented and technically oriented. If you want to know more, you can contact Will or me. But I am a socially oriented generalist, so I'm in the builder quadrant. I am what's called a negotiator, and Will is a
technically oriented generalist. So I'm up top with you, but I'm on the technical side, not social. And I'm an architect. I'm a developer.
That's exactly right. So Will and I have this in common, but we differ on our communication styles, as I think we witnessed at the top of the pod.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, and then Melissa is a socially oriented generalist. She's a builder, and I forgot which one she is, but we'll get to that next slide. So let's move on. That's right. Oh, that's right. Melissa is a variation of a builder. So let's explain. But first, Will has a probing question to ask.
I do have a probing question, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to be reduced to a two-dimensional data table?
I don't like being in a box.
Oh, no one puts baby in a box. That's the best answer we've had, and we've done 70 of these.
Oh, wow.
Melissa, a boxer.
Yes.
Unfortunately for this slide, baby is in the box, so let's break it down. So we always read the graphic from right to left. So anything to the right is more dominant, anything to the left is less so. These are our construct, assertiveness, extroversion, patience, and detail orientation. Melissa is extremely high in patience, and that's where the variation comes in. Most builders, especially negotiators like me, have a P that's way down here. So you have a double benefit, right? You have all the extroversion and generalist traits that's great in a startup environment, but you're also patient, right? You're like a surfer cool dude, very chill. And then we look at your detail orientation, like most builders, that is way down here. What that means is when we look at it compared to your A, that's the trait pairs we look at, is that you are a risk taker. That makes you a bit venturesome. You're going to be quick to delegate. You care that work gets done more than how work gets done. Mm-hmm. We've already been through this, and I remember you nodding your head at this. So I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm glad you agree. It's fun to see yourself this way, right? Now you want to answer the question. You want to try another? You want to try that again? We'll ask her again.
The same question, right? Okay. How does it feel to be reduced to a two-dimensional data table?
It feels great.
Gave John the answer he wanted.
Thank you. I'm not going to edit any of this. I just like moving on in a positive way.
I really like that variation, though, to see that patience.
I wish I had.
That's interesting.
I wish I had more of that. See, I couldn't even wait to agree with you. I had to talk over you.
Yeah, and you jumped to the next slide.
I jumped to the next slide. Yeah. Okay.
Melissa would never have done that.
We're doing a pod twist here. Melissa did such a nice job of giving us edits that I couldn't do a better job of turning them into her own words. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the system generated content, and Will and Melissa will have a little bit more time on each of them than we usually give it. Let's call this the crisscross episode. Crisscross.
I like it.
There we go. All right. It's not in a box.
Well, you want me to build them one at a time or build them all out and talk?
Yeah, throw them all on there, and but I'll take it from here. So, Melissa, you went through the assessment. You ended up in the upper right quadrant, right? We're a builder negotiator. These are the system generated results, and yet based on what John and you discussed, sounds like they felt pretty doggone accurate. So let's hang in this area for a while. Talk us through, please, these 3 bullets and why you think they're so on point, and what it is about them that landed as accurate with you, and add as much color as you can, right, from professional examples and whatnot.
Right. Well, I feel like it totally pinged me for startups, which is what I enjoy. I love, always been a part of for many years now. So, in a startup, it can get really crazy fast. So just, got to try to figure out stuff super quickly. And I enjoy that. Mm-hmm. And, in the past, technical people, especially as an engineering recruiter, they would get multiple offers. I mean, that's really stressful, and trying to get them to take mine, which usually wasn't always the highest one, so maybe not the lowest, but definitely not the highest either. And so getting people to come on board and with all those kinds of challenges, and that was pretty fun to me. And then, also at the same time, getting a great person, a part of the team as well. So let's see. And also, usually when you have those kinds of cases, like pushing your hiring teams to, make a decision, helping them get to that decision very quickly, is a lot of fun for me. And then just like, getting it done, move. I like that.
Well, that's a decisive piece there. That's kind of in that third bullet.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that authoritative description there? In the work that you and I have done together over the years, I've always found you to be super responsive, very flexible. But I've been the vendor, you've been the internal point of contact. I haven't been someone who's reported to you. What do you think about that authoritative piece, either as it relates to direct reports that you've had, or, when you're trying to marshal a hiring manager through a process or a candidate through a process? When does the authoritative part come out?
Well, have you ever herded cats? You gotta push them, and you don't let them turn around and look for the milk. It's like, no, we gotta go, and that's kind of. I mean, if you could probably ask any engineering manager that's ever had to work with me, it's like,
that's hard for engineering managers because they're almost universally going to be on the technically oriented side, but perhaps even the expert side, who are opposites of you.
Right.
And
yes.
they don't cotton to being persuaded and pushed. And so it's a real art and science. I guess it's carrot and stick. Hopefully more carrot than stick. But
and I guess I can be authoritative with a smile. So, just kind of, if I'm just starting to work with them, have to do it a little nicer. But then over time, kind of as I get more comfortable with people, they understand, like, I need you to do this. You are stopping me from getting my job done. You need to do this. This is for you. And, my whole reason for being my job here is for you. And I'm asking you to get this done. And, that makes sense, and so that's, I guess, probably more hit their logical side and everything too, and kind of can get them ushered along. I mean, they know they need to make a hiring decision. So
nice.
Yeah. I mean, that the persuasive part of your personality certainly plays in there. In addition, the notes there about innovative and adaptive really dovetails nicely with being in startup, because, as long as I've known you, that's the space you've been in, and you seem to invite it and welcome it where others might kind of shy away from the lack of predictability and the lack of structure.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's fun. It's not boring. And I can, kind of get creative in coming up with solutions, or just a better. I just always like to be efficient. If I got to do a process, I want it to at least be efficient, not like a waste of my time. So, just kind of being able to come up with a process that works for that environment, for that day or however long, and then as we grow, that will continue to change. So that's what I like to do.
Nice.
Well, with startups come pressure and stress and challenges and difficulties. So your superpowers in those moments can, convert to kryptonite. Let's talk through these weaknesses here. What do you think about those bullets, and, what's your self-commentary on the matchup with you?
Yeah. So, well, the resistant to structure, I mean, kind of after a startup gets around 300 people, then we have a structure and it's going to stay the same for quite a while, and maybe until you get to like 1,000 people or something. Well, that's a lot of time. And so I start to kind of get bored in that time. So I like, early stage startups and high growth startups.
Builder. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But if I may jump in, this is the kryptonite section. Mm-hmm. So the point is let's see some kryptonite.
All right. Well, so impatient with slower processes again, like, I thought it was kind of interesting that I'm patient. So I think that's just, something I've worked on, actually. So now maybe I've gone too far the other way. So I was kind of surprised with having that high P there. But yeah, I don't do well if processes are not efficient or don't make sense. I I'm done.
Well, let me just add. So that the P for patience is a very robust trait, and just reading it in like the 2-dimensional form doesn't always give it as much emphasis as it should. The systemization and the process and that need for it to work well, that's what's driving that higher P. And so that the way you responded to the assessment is probably pushed that up more than being purely patient. You're more systematic.
Oh, okay.
When things aren't working systematically, what? You blow up?
No, I don't blow up. I'll just go and do it my own way. I'll work at what makes sense to me, and I don't care. So that's good or bad. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it efficient for me, and go from there. And then somebody else might have to clean it up.
Well, and in the world of recruiting, as a commentary, Melissa, I'm sure you'd agree with this. There's only so much you can control. Yeah. Ultimately, you find yourself at the mercy of a hiring manager, and you on the flip side, you're at the mercy of the candidate. So there are human beings on either side of the equation.
Yeah.
As much as you want to get them to do exactly what you want them to do, mm-hmm. you can't control them to a certain degree, which requires that patience, because you got to guide and then wait. Yes. But I also know I've worked with you enough to know when you've had enough.
Yeah.
And it's still pleasant and it's still with a smile, but I know when you're done, and I'm sure the people that you have dealt with where you've been as patient as you can be, and now you're just in my way and I can't win because you don't want to win. Then you're just like, I'm done with you. I got to go. Like, I'm gonna go do some other stuff where I got a chance to win. I can't win here.
Yeah. I'll recognize really quickly when it's just not, nothing's going to change. And so, let's just move on and cut it.
Is that like a Southern thing where you say, well, bless your heart, and you don't mean bless your heart?
Very much. Yes.
Something else. Yeah, exactly.
And I'll be here if you want to come back, and everything else. I'll be here and I'll move on from it. I'm not going to hold it against you. But, if you're not ready and it's just not working, I have other things to do. So, I'm going to spend my time in something that's making sense and being productive. Rude or not, that's just it.
Well, with that top bullet, you and John have that in common, right? That trailing D. You talked about systemization, and that you like that. John needs systems too, right? He needs things that help him to make up for that, lack of attention to detail at times to help him. He's also prone to delegation. If he can trust the task to get done and it's not super important to him, then he's going to either find someone.
If I can get Will to do something, I will take it all day long.
That systemization that you like, that you find, you said earlier, I build something that works for me. You can overcome that, lack of attention to detail part of the personality by building systems that help you. And I know that you like to have people with you on the team that you believe in and can trust, because if you do, you're going to delegate stuff to them. That's not what puts you in your happy place.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I can definitely delegate, but I was actually listening to, I think, Beth Mulvaney, and she also mentioned, but I have to have someone that I can trust. If I can't trust it, I'll hold on to it and just do it myself, even at the detriment of myself. Just because then I can rest and know it's done. I have this all the time at home with my husband too. He's like, just relax. I'm like, this is not done. Get up and help me so I can sit down. So that he can stop.
Well, we went through this exercise together. You got your results, studied them. We just talked through the bullets. How do you take this exercise, not just the OAD assessment, but the podcast with John and I, and apply these things that we've just analyzed to, your leadership role where you are? You're leading a function. You're playing a very important role for portfolio companies. What did you gain from this that you can use?
Well, I think I just gained that, actually I've found the right environments for me. So this is a little different because I'm not an employee of a company. So I have a lot more organizations that I'm working with. And so that detail is kind of, it's keeping up with everyone is kind of it's a little rough for me sometimes, so I have to use, different tools. And especially when I'm at home, I have Alexa, like, hey, reminder popping up all day long because I'll get distracted. So, so I use that. And then just kind of in Slack, I can do reminders to myself as well when I'm at work. So things pop up, and I have to have a to-do list or really I use Slack, and kind of review that. Yes, review that at the end of the day and make sure, like, okay, I didn't forget anybody, but sometimes I still do, and everything. But I'm human, so I just reach out to them as soon as I remember and apologize and try to smooth it over. But it's never really anything too major that anybody's left super upset. But I do get upset about it, that I did miss it. I'm hard on myself.
Hardy, right? You don't want to disappoint people.
Yes.
The goal of this whole exercise really is about, leaders self-analyze. They recognize where their shortcomings are, and they self-analyze and then try to work through them and get better. And then they share those weaknesses with others in their communication style so that they know how to work with them better. So, using Alexa, having the reminders, and then being honest with those that rely on you about, hey, this is where I'm strong. This is where I'm weak. Help me, hold me accountable. I want to perform my best, but I'm willing to analyze my worst.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. 100%. So who's next? So, well, I was thinking actually my In the Soup co-host, Jen Sumi. So
that's a great choice.
Yes. And then maybe she can refer Joe Colopy. Yeah, that would
get the whole gang of you in there.
Right.
Yes.
So after the show, I'll send you our usual thank you gift, which is an email from me, and the gift is that I copy Will.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. That's so exciting.
We'll ask you to just pop a quick note to Jen. I know Jen, Will knows Jen, but just as a process, just to say, hey, I was on the pod with John and Will and thought you might enjoy it too. And then I'll take it from there.
All right. Sounds good.
That's so nice of you. Thank you. She's great.
Yes.
And then,
thank you.
Now, I've never done this before, but I'll do it. Maybe Will and I should be on your podcast.
Yeah. Yes.
We're pretty good at this, as you can tell.
Excellent.
You're the oyster crackers to any soup.
Well, what do you think the subject would be?
Something about soup, I guess.
Yeah.
No, you know what it would be? It would be about helping startups build a culture of communication so that they don't fall prey to what Mark Andreessen says. Is he'll say, most startups fail. We all know that. But when they die by suicide, not homicide. And oftentimes that suicide is from internal strife, AKA communication. What I say, and I don't always say this to founders, although I do if they're not getting with the program, is that most founders are technically oriented. So you know what that means, right? They're architects or experts. 1. 2, they think their communication skills are adequate. And 3, they're wrong. And so if you polled secretly a bunch of your portfolio companies and you asked about communication from the founders and the leaders, where does that rank? Like one of our clients actually did a branded case study with us. They resisted doing a workshop until the COO had her chief of staff have a all hands meeting without the management team and said, here's the question, what's the number one internal issue that's holding back our growth? And it was the first time in the whole company, everyone agreed. One thing, communication.
Wow.
Communication. And so they went through our program and it was very helpful. We had a number of key breakthroughs, and it was really powerful. So I bet if you did that exercise, you'd find a number of companies that are suffering from that particular situation, and maybe Will or I could help. And commercial message.
There you go. Well, we just took a summer break, so I'll get with Jen though. Maybe in the fall, we'll kick it off with that one.
Hear that, Will? Maybe.
Mm-hmm. I'll take maybe. And speaking of commercial message,
Jen runs the show. I just show up.
You're the Will, and I'm the Jen.
Yes.
Speaking of commercial messages, I do want to underline something here. This was Grep-a-palooza week. Wanted to make sure we had you on during that week, Melissa. John and I both care very deeply about the local startup community. Love everything that we're trying to do here in Raleigh-Durham to support that. Certainly appreciate the work that you and your crew put into putting that together this week. So thank you for Grep-a-palooza, but also thank you for joining us this week and helping us spread the word about it.
Oh yeah, thank you. This was really great and insightful.
I could not wrap up any better than that. Melissa, thank you. Mm-hmm. Will, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm John Lane.
I'm Will Barfield.
And we are, say it with us, Melissa.
All right.
We're
work in progress.
Hooray.
Woo-hoo.
Great show. Thank you, Melissa. It's been awesome. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Work in Progress is a podcast presentation of Slipshod Productions. Available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Executive produced and starring John Lane and Will Barfield. Talent booking, production, and editing by John Lane. Thanks for watching. See you next week.